These are the 35 best MetaQuest 3 games that you have to play. So let's dive right into it. And starting off on number 1 is Arcane Age. Now this is a single player adventure game that puts you into a fantasy world with some insanely upgradable weapons that you will need to use to fight across its levels. But besides the physics-based combat and its big campaign mode, it also has one of the coolest boss fights in all of VR. And number 2 is Reach. And this is a sci-fi action experience that really pushes the graphics of your Quest 3 headset. And in here, you'll be climbing and fighting, as well as solving puzzles to unravel its overall narrative. Although, just keep in mind that some moments can be pretty intense, so make sure that beforehand you're a bit used to VR. And on number 3, we got V-Racer Hoverbike. And this one kind of feels like Wipeout together with something like Mario Kart. Because while you're floating with your hoverbikes across the courses, you will also get some items such as missiles that you can use to take out your opponents. So that's pretty damn cool. And that also directly gets us to number 4, which is known as Into Black. Now here, you will be exploring an alien planet with the goal of repairing your ship so that you can finally escape. However, besides mining the resources that you will come across, you will also find an infestation of creatures that inhabit this place. So it will be up to you to try and survive in those harsh environments. But moving on to number 5, we have Ghost Town. Now this is a supernatural puzzle adventure game which has some very unique twists in its story that will have you searching for your brother who mysteriously disappeared. And on top of that, you'll have to use your actual hands in here to be able to even solve the tactical puzzles, as well as to activate magical sigils and much more. Which gets us also to none other than number 6, which is Thief VR Legacy of Shadow. Now this one finally brings the popular Thief franchise to virtual reality in a fully immersive experience. And in this stealth action game, you'll be sneaking around the levels while you're also trying to take out your targets without being noticed. But on top of that, you will also be doing things like solving puzzles or picking locks, and that all while you're trying to unravel the secrets that the story-driven campaign puts you on. And honestly, this is by far one of the best VR games that I have played in quite some time, making this personally a top contender of VR Game of the Year. Because while most other games mainly focus on the combat side of things, it is in here that they switch it up completely by making you use your skills of quick thinking and evasion to even be able to progress through its story. And besides that, it is also available on nearly all VR platforms for about $30. And while that is not cheap, it is definitely lower than most of the other big releases that we've gotten. And on number 7, we have Dungeons of Eternity. Now this is probably best described as an endless fantasy hack and slash with ever-changing levels for you to explore either solo or with your friends. But since every run feels so different, it also quickly becomes a game that you keep coming back to over and over again. And on number 8, we have Marvel's Deadpool VR. And this also marks the very first time that you can officially play as the anti-hero himself on your Quest headset. And with its cel-shaded graphics that look like it comes straight out of a comic book, in it, you can also expect a lot of insane action scenes and brutal combat throughout the entire experience. And on number 9, we have Blade and Sorcery Nomad. Now, while this is definitely one of the older games on this list, it has gotten some major updates since its original launch that have added things to it like a complete graphical overhaul, as well as a full-on campaign mode, making it till this day still one of the best physics-based combat games that are out there. Oh, and don't forget that you can also get between 10 to 20% discount on literally all MetaQuest games by using the code VRelity. But moving on, we have number 10, which is VRFS Football Simulator. And like the title implies, this one will let you play soccer in virtual reality, but with the main difference that your feet will now be replaced by your controllers. And another cool thing in here is that besides just showing off your skills in online matches, it also has hundreds of community-created arenas and mods for you to dive into. Which also gets us to number 11, and that is Battlemarked. Now this one is made in collaboration between Demio and Dungeons & Dragons, and that makes this also the only true D&D VR game. So if you love the original Demio, or if you always wanted to play Dungeons & Dragons in VR, then I'm sure that you will enjoy this one just as much. And number 12 is Batman Arkham Shadow. Now this is an absolute fantastic game that for most people actually came for free with their Quest headsets itself. And in it, you can embody none other than Batman, who will once again have to save Gotham City from the big bad guys that plague it. However, it also has some high production value that really shines throughout its gameplay. But moving on, we have number 13, known as Deadly Delivery. And probably the first thing that you'll notice here is the unique art style that it has, and it really pops on the Quest 3's built-in screen. But besides that, unlike most other titles so far, This one is a co-op experience, meaning that you'll have to team up with other people online with your ultimate goal of trying to deliver this random package while surviving through all the horrors that are hiding in their minds. And on number 14, we have Thrill of the Fight 2. Now this is by far one of the best boxing simulators out there that was sadly stuck in early access for a very long time. But now, it has finally fully released, which means that you can dive into its career mode or just brawl it out against ranked opponents online. And that gets us to number 15, which is Forefront. Now this is probably one of the most epic first-person shooters that are available on Quest, because besides your standard combat that you come to expect from it, you can also take control of vehicles such as tanks and helicopters that you can then use in the battles yourself to take out your opponents. And on number 16, we got Crystal Conquest. And this is kinda like Dota, but then from a first-person's perspective, because the game itself will drop you into a 3v3 arena where you'll be taking out minions and conquering your enemy's base, all while you're using your elemental skills that depend on the character that you chose. And the arsenal of magic skills will also change depending on your level. And besides that, you can also buy items or other upgrades to boost your stats so that you can gain the advantage in battle. But by far best of all is that this game is completely free right now. Although, you will have to get it through SideQuest, with a full release on the Meta Store happening as we speak. So either way, make sure to grab this one when you have a chance, especially if you love games like League of Legends. But moving on to number 17, we have Into the Radius 2. And this is the sequel to an already highly unique first-person shooter, which now pushes your possibilities and customization even further. Because this time around, you will have much more options to tweak in your gear, so that it can really help you find the playstyle that fits you best. And thanks to that, you'll be able to go all out against the crazy things that this game will throw at you. And number 18 is Surviving Mars. And simply put, in here, you'll be exploring the Red Planet while you're trying to build up your base and protect yourself against the harsh surroundings. And that all, while you will also start to slowly piece together the story the more you discover the far corners of this planet. And number 19 is Waltz of the Wizard. And this is also one of the only VR games that makes me laugh every single time that I play it. And that is of course thanks to your companion, known as Scully. Because not only can you test out all of your magic skills on him, but he also has hundreds of built-in reactions depending on what actions you do inside the game. And honestly, if you haven't tried this one yet, then you really should. And number 20 is The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. And no, this is not your standard zombie wave shooter, but instead, it has a massive campaign that also now got a big graphics upgrade for the MetaQuest 3 headset. And while its sequel doesn't really hit the mark in the same way, it is the original Saints and Sinners that is still worth it after all this time. Number 21, Wanderer, The Fragments of Fate. Now this game will let you teleport between different timelines that eventually all come together in its overall narrative. And that means you'll be going from some thrilling action in one moment, or even traversing difficult terrain in the other. And number 22 is Assassin's Creed Nexus, and finally getting the big franchise to VR. In this game, you'll be using your parkour skills to jump across the buildings, while you're also trying to take out your targets with either stealth or some full-on combat, making this everything that you come to expect from an Assassin's Creed title. And number 23 is Veil Extraction. Now also known as one of the best VR shooters on Quest, Veil has a bunch of different game modes that can go from free-for-all to their social hub, and even the newer extraction mode that you can use to improve your skills. And best of all, most of these are actually completely free to play. Number 24, Star Wars Beyond Victory. And this is actually a mixed reality game that lets you do some actual pod racing in your own living room, as well as give you a new interactive VR story that follows alongside it. And if you want even more after that, then there is also a playset option that lets you place Star Wars figures in your surroundings. Number 25, Elements Divided. Now this is pretty much Avatar: The Last Airbender, but then while you're fighting against other people in a massive arena. Because not only will you be able to bend the base elements, but you will also be able to unlock the hidden abilities such as metal and lava bending, and much more. However, before we get to the next 10 must-play VR games on Quest 3, let's first have a quick word from the company that made this video possible. Because none other than Cat VR, who are known for creating VR treadmills that look like they come straight out of Ready Player One, are once again taking virtual reality to the next level. Because while we are normally limited by the boundary system inside our VR experiences, it is Cat VR that has created these VR treadmills that let you run and jump without any limitation. And since their most recent version, which is known as the C2 Plus Enhanced, is compatible with every VR headset that you can think of, it is also often considered as the dream upgrade for any VR user. And they even go so far that it has things like haptic feedback built into it, as well as a vehicle hub,
which will make it feel even more realistic when you're racing on a track or flying through the sky. And as a cherry on top, you can also use the code VRelity for a whopping $130 off on your entire purchase. So for those who are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below.
And that gets us to number 26, which is Asgard's Wrath 2. Now this is by far the biggest semi-open world RPG that you can get on Quest. And similar to Batman VR, many users actually got this one for free with their initial headset purchase. But the cool thing is that this doesn't only give you over 100 hours worth of gameplay, it also has some awesome combat and surprisingly crisp looking graphics for a game this size. Number 27, Of Lies and Rain. Now this is a first-person shooter that takes place in a dark post-apocalyptic world where you'll be shouldered with the task of none other than saving humanity itself. Although, you will quickly find out that not everything is as it seems in this new world. So expect many plot twists in this creepy alternative universe, which will probably keep you on your toes at all time. And number 28 is Resident Evil 4. And yes, this is actually a full port of the iconic hit game, but because you can now play it in VR, it actually feels like a complete new experience, even if you have played the original already. And that goes from the implementation of dual-hand combat, which lets you wield different objects however you want, to even the combat itself. At number 29 is Animal Company. Now this is also by far one of the most popular games that blew up in no time in a similar way to something like Guerrilla Tag. And while the graphics might not be anything to write home about, it is the addictive gameplay and exploration that you do with other people online that keeps players coming back for more. And of course, it is also completely free. At number 30, we have Walkabout Mini Golf. And while this one got released quite a long time ago, Walkabout Mini Golf is still receiving updates and courses nearly every single month. And while the gameplay itself is pretty straightforward, there are just so many modes, golf balls, and even complete levels to unlock that you will quickly lose track of time while playing it. Number 31, The House of Da Vinci. And this is perfect for those escape room lovers out there, because in here, you will have to solve some mechanical puzzles and use special devices that just wouldn't be possible in real life. And number 32 is Moss. And while this was originally actually a PlayStation VR exclusive, both Moss Book 1 as well as its sequel are now fully playable on the Quest headsets. And unlike most titles, these will let you play the game from a third-person perspective while you're trying to interact and help out your companion mouse named Quill. And number 33 is Green Hell VR. And this is a VR survival game that is based on the flat-screen title that goes by the same name. Although, while the Quest version does have a slightly reduced campaign length, it still has some awesome gameplay mechanics that definitely make it worth it. And number 34 is Bone Lab. Now this is the sandbox physics-based experience that is an absolute must for anyone who loves some realistic combat. And while there is also a story mode that you can go through, Bone Lab really shines much more when it comes to the mods that you can add to it. I mean, it is even possible to play the entire previous Boneworks game inside of here too. And number 35 is Skydance Behemoth. And this is a big adventure game that flew under lots of people's radar. Because not only does it have some crazy boss fights and absolute stunning graphics, it is also one of the best Meta Quest 3 games, period. But that is not all, because there are also a lot of completely free Quest 3 games that you have to play. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out on that. And of course, stay awesome.